Hello, welcome to Reality TV News Update, where you can catch up on all of your favorite shows at any time. Tennessee Valley D2D, floaters, grab your life vests, popcorn buckets, and whatever treats you enjoy while watching movies because Rachel Reilly is starring in another one. That's right. The Big Brother legend has been cast in Measure twice. A new faith-based film from Reilly Films and 112 Pictures. Written and directed by Candace Kane, the filmmaker behind Mistletoe, Mansion, A Jar Full of Christmas, and Royal Runaways. This story perfectly blends the emotional depth of faith-based filmmaking with the kind of authentic, character-driven storytelling that stays with audiences long after the credits roll, said Kane, who founded the award-winning Reilly Films and has directed 26 feature films with global distribution. Reilly will play the role of Chloe Robinson. See the official synopsis below. When a grieving, reclusive carpenter is hit with a $10,000 town lien, he is forced to teach a woodworking class to 3 strangers and the local pastor, uncovering that while you can't uncut the past, you can always build something new from the scraps. Rachel Reilly brings an energy to everything she touches, and pairing that with Candace's vision for this film is something special, said executive producer Pamela Steenland, founder and CEO of 112 Pictures. We're incredibly proud to bring this story to audiences. The film is expected to be released in early spring 2027. You can watch our entire conversation with Rachel Reilly in the video player above, and you can keep up with all things Rachel Reilly here. Reilly Films Incorporated is an award-winning independent production company based in Brookhaven, New York, founded by Candace Kane that specializes in family-friendly, upbeat content that is distributed worldwide. The company has produced 26 feature films for full series, including to multi-season shows to pilots and 1 short-form series. Rachel Reilly had always known how to work a camera. For years, she turned diary room confessionals into an art form, equal parts drama, wit, and unapologetic honesty. But now, standing under the hot, unblinking lights of a film set, she realized something surprising. This camera didn't talk back. Quiet on set, someone called. Rachel adjusted her posture, rolling her shoulders back as the makeup artist gave her one last dab of powder. The director, a weary man with intense eyes, stepped closer. He gently reminded them that this moment is about restraint. You're not explaining how you feel, you're letting us see it. Rachel nodded, though inside she was laughing. Restraint, that wasn't exactly her brand. For years, fans had known her as the fiery, unpredictable queen of reality TV, a woman who could turn a simple vote into a Shakespearean monologue. She thrived on being heard, on narrating her thoughts with bold clarity. However, acting, silence was required for acting. Subtlety, trust. Ready? The director asked. Sighing, Rachel let out. Ready? The slate clapped. The camera rolled. And just like that, Rachel Reilly, Big Brother legend, disappeared. The journey to this moment hadn't been straightforward. When Rachel first announced she was stepping into acting, the reaction was mixed. Her fans were thrilled, of course. They had followed her through competitions, alliances, betrayals, and victories. To them, Rachel was larger than life, but Hollywood was different. In a meeting that Rachel would later recall, one casting agent had stated bluntly, "She's reality TV. That's not the same as acting." Rachel had smiled politely at the time, but inside, something had sparked. She had spent years being underestimated, and she had built a career proving people wrong. Humbling was her first acting class. There were no alliances or competitions to navigate. All that was present was a room full of aspirant actors, performing candid exercises in which they were each revealing a portion of themselves. Rachel, who had never shied away from attention, suddenly found herself unsure. When you're not performing, who are you? The instructor asked during one session. Rachel opened her mouth to answer but stopped. She had never considered the question. She had always been amplified Rachel on reality television, louder, bigger, sharper. But was that the same as truth? She went home that evening and sat in silence there, without cameras, no audience, no confessionals, merely her thoughts. Back on set, months later, those lessons echoed in her mind. Her character, a woman struggling with betrayal, sat alone in a dimly lit room holding a letter she hadn't opened yet. The scene was easy to follow. In the past, Rachel would have filled the silence. She would have narrated the moment, told the audience exactly what she was feeling, but now, she let the quiet stretch. Her fingers trembled slightly as she traced the edge of the envelope. Her eyes flickered just enough to suggest the storm that lay beneath the surface. but not significantly. The director leaned forward, watching intently. Rachel inhaled, slow and controlled. And then without a word she let a single tear fall. Cut. The room stayed still for a moment. The director then grinned. He declared, "That was perfect." Rachel blinked, almost startled. Perfect. She had not commented, at least not in the usual way. She hadn't done anything, but somehow it had worked. Between takes, Rachel sat in her chair, script in hand, reflecting on how far she had come. Reality TV had taught her confidence. It had taught her resilience, quick thinking, and how to hold an audience's attention. However, acting was teaching her something completely different. Listening not just to others but to herself. For the first time in her career, she wasn't trying to win. She wasn't strategizing or performing for votes. She was simply being. It terrified me. And exhilarating, the film itself marked a departure from Rachel's previous work. No competitions. There's no bright, frantic energy. Instead, it was a quiet, character-driven story about trust, identity, and the masks people wear. She had been drawn to the script's honesty when she first read it. This feels real. She had told her agent, and maybe that was the point, for years. Rachel had been part of reality television, a version of real life shaped by editing, storytelling, and spectacle. She was now pursuing something more substantial. A different type of reality. On the final day of shooting, the cast and crew gathered for the last scene. It was an emotional one, a culmination of everything her character had gone through. Rachel noticed a change as the cameras moved. She was not considering lines. She wasn't thinking about how she looked or how the audience might react. She was fully, completely present. When the scene ended, there was a moment of silence. Then there was cheering. Not the loud, explosive kind she was used to, but something warmer, more personal. The director approached her, a proud smile on his face. "You've come a long way," he said. Rachel laughed softly. "I suppose I have, yes." Later that evening, Rachel picked up her phone by herself in her trailer. For a moment, she considered recording a confessional-style video, something playful, something her fans would recognize. She even began, "Okay guys, so today was..." She stopped, smiled, also deleted the recording. Instead, she typed a simple message. "Today, I finished my first movie, grateful for the journey. Can't wait for you all to see it." No showmanship, no monologue, just the truth. As Rachel stepped out into the cool night air, she looked up at the stars. For years, she had lived her life in front of cameras, turning moments into performances. But now, she understood something new. She didn't have to explain anything to the camera. Sometimes, the most powerful stories weren't told in confessionals. They were felt in the quiet, unspoken spaces. And Rachel Reilly wasn't just playing to the camera for the first time. She was letting it see her. The light above the camera blinked on, but this time there was no diary room chair. No oversized button to press, no producer's voice asking leading questions. There was, instead, silence, and at the center of it stood Rachel Reilly, once the undisputed queen of confessionals, now staring down a film camera that demanded something entirely different. Action. Rachel didn't speak. That alone felt unnatural. Rachel had mastered the art of being heard years earlier. Within the controlled chaos of Big Brother, her confessionals weren't just commentary, they were events. She described strategy as if she were a general, heartbreak as if she were a poet, and drama as if it were oxygen. "Floaters, you better pick up a life jacket," she had once declared. A line that would follow her for the rest of her career. Back then, the camera was her ally. It gave her space to explain, to react, to perform. It anticipated her withholding. Now, the film set felt colder than the Big Brother house ever had. Here, there were no alliances, no competitions, no live evictions, just marks on the floor, scripts filled with subtext, and a director who kept saying things like, "Less is more." When she first heard it, Rachel had nodded. By the 10th time, she wasn't so sure. Her co-star, a seasoned indie actor named Julian, leaned against the wall between takes, watching her rehearse. "You're thinking too much," he said casually. Rachel shook her head. "I've been told I don't think enough." Julian grinned. "That was probably for TV. This is different." Different. That word again. This was completely different. Her first day on set had been a disaster. Her character sat across from an estranged sister in a scene that was straightforward. Years of tension were hanging in the air. Rachel had delivered the lines with intensity, voice rising, emotion spilling over, eyes wide with urgency. "Cut," the director said gently. Rachel smiled, waiting for praise. Instead, he stepped closer. He said, "You're explaining everything We don't require that. The audience can feel it. Rachel looked up. But how can they possibly know what I'm thinking? He responded, they'll see it. If you allow them to. That night, Rachel went home frustrated. On reality TV, clarity was power. You were required to describe your actions, emotions, and strategy. If you didn't, someone else would define your story for you. But here, silence wasn't weakness. It was the point. Back on set, under the glow of soft lights, Rachel prepared for another take. She tried something new this time. She stopped performing. Instead of projecting emotion outward, she let it sit quietly inside her. The camera rolled. His line was delivered by her co-star. Rachel didn't talk back, didn't react immediately. She was just listening. A flicker crossed her face, small, almost imperceptible, a tightening of her jaw, a shift in her eyes. Cut. The director took a sigh. Yes, he said. That's it. Rachel felt an unfamiliar sensation settle into her chest. Not victory. Not epinephrine. Something quieter, understanding. The fact that Rachel Reilly was attempting to enter the acting industry was quickly made public. Some people offered assistance, others, less so. Reality stars don't usually make this jump. One producer had told her bluntly during an early meeting, people see you as you are, not as a character, you say. Rachel had smiled. Politely, she had heard various versions of that all her life. Too loud, too dramatic, too much, yet the same characteristics had made her memorable. So instead of fighting her past, she decided to learn from it. She had learned to be brave through reality television. Acting was teaching her how to be vulnerable. Halfway through filming, there was a scene that scared her more than any eviction night ever had. No dialogue, no movement, merely a close-up. Her character had just received devastating news. The camera would stay on her face for nearly 30 seconds. 30 seconds? Rachel repeated when she first saw it in the script. Doing what? Being, the director replied. Rachel almost laughed. Being had never been her strategy. The day they shot that scene, the set was unusually quiet. Even the crew seemed to move with more care, as if they were aware of the weight of the moment. Rachel took her mark. The camera moved in, closer, closer, to close, in the Big Brother house. She had always controlled how much she revealed. Here, there was nowhere to hide. Action. Off-camera delivery of the news was used. Rachel felt her chest tighten. Her first reaction was to scream, gasp, and do something, but she didn't. She recalled the information she had learned. Less, she let the emotion rise slowly. A flicker of disbelief, an eagle, despite not attempting to cry. Her eyes sparkled. She just stayed, present, honest, human. Cut, silence, then the director's voice. Softer than usual, that was gorgeous. By the end of filming, something had shifted. Rachel still loved the spotlight. That will never alter, but she no longer needed to fill every moment with sound. She had discovered stillness's power. On the final day, the cast gathered for a small wrap celebration. Julian poured from a glass. To Rachel, he said, "Who proved that reinvention is real?" Rachel laughed. "I'm still figuring it out, aren't we all?" He replied. Later that night, Rachel found herself alone, scrolling through old clips of her time on Big Brother. Loud, ferocious, and unapologetic, she was there. She grinned. That version of her wasn't gone. It had merely developed, instinctively ready to record a confession. She opened her camera app. Okay, so, she began, then stopped. She did not feel the need to recount the event for the first time. She set the phone down. Rachel considered the journey as she stood by the window and gazed out at the city lights. From close-ups to confessionals, from explaining everything to trusting silence, from playing the game to telling a story, the camera hadn't changed. But she had, and as Rachel Reilly entered this brand new chapter, she realized something she had never known before. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can say is absolutely nothing.